Hi, my name is Forum Shah and welcome back to the Frappe podcast. If you're watching this, you're in one of our earlier episodes and it's very exciting. So, in one line, the point of the Frappe podcast is because Frappe is just as interested in sharing good stories as it is good products. I have with me someone very exciting, somebody I've known for I think 4-5 years now. We started working together when I first came to Frappe 4 years ago. We have Jannat Patel and I'm so excited. She's one of our product engineers and she's running Frappe Learning. It's her baby. Welcome. How are you feeling?
Just a normal Saturday, I think.
So for those of you who don't know Frappe Learning, Frappe School is powered through Frappe Learning. So we're just going to get into that first. So do you want to share with me why you first started with Frappe Learning?
So it's a very interesting story. I think, at that time I was a part of the ERP Next team and I was looking for an interesting project to start with. I wanted to try out more things. And at the same time, a few other folks at Frappe were having conversations about how they would need a learning system for our flagship product, ERP Next. ERPs by nature are very complex products, and even though we have very extensive user documentation, users need more. And so it just made sense to have a learning system with courses on every module of ERP Next that would provide more explanation about the workflows to our users. And since how it happens every time in Frappe, once we get an idea, we decide to do it on our own. I was looking for a project at just that time, and that is how my journey with Frappe Learning started.
That's fun, isn't it? Like, and I'm glad you did, but I think because of you developing Frappe Learning, I got hired for Frappe School. So I think I owe my career to you.
No, you don't.
No, I do. But yeah, it's like, I also, when I first joined 4 years ago, I started working on Frappe Learning and it was so exciting for me. Like, I come from a non-tech background, but learning about ERP Next, learning the system and trying to teach the system at the same time was so wholesome in a very tech sort of way.
Correct.
Yeah.
You were involved in all of the behind the scenes
Yeah.
process back then. Yeah.
And it was quite fun, like I have to say. And now Frappe School has grown to 50,000 users. That means like more than 50,000 people are using it to learn Frappe framework, ERP Next. And it's pretty cool that we're doing this on such a big scale, having started only 4 years ago.
Correct. I mean, it was a huge support from our ecosystem, and I think there was already a gap that was there, and Frappe School just filled that gap, and I think that is why we got such a huge response, and we still keep getting that response even though we don't do any sort of traditional marketing, but just naturally we keep getting users, and they just keep finding our courses.
Yeah, marketing at Frappe is very big, How do we do it? What do we do? How do we stay true to ourselves? But yeah. This is the formal part though, actually. Jannat and I talked a few days ago and we have something very fun conversation planned. It came about because most of the time you and I have talked, it's always led to conversations about courage or like doing something for the first time and, just getting where you are right now. And very true to that, I think we can just segue into that conversation. Like, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
I think that would be this very moment. This very moment is defining my first podcast. I have never done a podcast before. So I think, this very moment is the first time that I'm doing something for the first time.
How do you feel? Same, because we're in the same boat right now.
I feel nervous, but also excited. And I'm really excited to see how our conversation goes ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I'm also really excited to, make this into a thing because like the people of Frappe are so unique and they have so many stories to tell.
Correct.
Everybody comes from such diverse places. Everybody has so many experiences that got them to where they are.
Right.
So like, why not?
Yeah, right. In fact, I was not expecting to be one of the earlier guests of your podcast. I thought I would be there in the podcast, but maybe later. And then you asked me, and I thought maybe, if I have to do it at one point, why not right now?
Yeah.
And I'm here today.
That's such a, if you don't do it now, when will you do it?
Yeah,
later?
correct.
Yeah.
You never know when's going to be the right time.
For me, doing like new things is a little bit tough. Like I need to be pushed. And I think that push can come from a person, a situation, somebody drops you in some random place. But like something that I would relate to, doing something for the first time, how you're feeling about this podcast is when I went on stage for the first time, for me, like I would not want to go on stage. There were so many people and it was just very confusing. And then some random, organizer must have come up to me and said that, all you need is like that 5 seconds of courage. And it's so weird that I don't remember who said it to me.
Okay.
But I remember that they came up to me and said that you need just 5 seconds of courage, because once you're out there, you're out there. You're going to do what you do best.
Correct.
And so you don't have to be nervous. I don't have to be nervous. We're just going to sit here and have such a, chill conversation, and we're going to let people get to know who Jannat Patel actually is.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
From the story that you shared, I relate to it very much. Each time I go on stage, I get that scary feeling for at least 5 seconds. And then after 5 seconds, it automatically starts relaxing and you get used to the stage. Yeah. So I think it's all about
Yeah.
just getting out there.
Yeah, you also give a lot of talks for Frappe. Like you talk at almost every conference and other events also. How has that been for you? How has that journey been from you? Like, was it easy?
As you said, sometimes life puts us in the situation and sometimes there are people pointing us to the right direction. I think for me, there were people around who pushed me into the right direction. So my first ever talk was for the online conference that Frappe had in 2021, I think.
yeah.
I think it was an important year for my career. Yeah, so that year, Basavraj, we used to work together for Frappe School. When the announcement for this online conference were made, Basavraj was like, you should give a talk. He texted me on Telegram. We used to not meet that often because it was COVID and he was in Bangalore and I was in Mumbai. So he texted and he was like, you should probably give a talk. And I was like, this is not what I do. I
just
code.
Yeah. I don't give talks. I'm just
Right.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure how to say this to him. So I said, yes, I'll give a proposal. I was just trying to get him off my back. And then I thought, yeah, that's done. And then a few weeks later, he's again, you've still not submitted your proposal. Where is your proposal? Submit a proposal. And he was like, you should really give a talk about it. This is good for your career. And I was like, okay. I really wasn't sure. Didn't want to do it. And I wasn't sure how to tell that to him. And then the next week, I was in office and Palkan was making a list with all the people of who would be the speakers and what talks would be there. And so I thought maybe I should just give my name and I'll figure out the rest later. Maybe I should just give my name because when I started my career, that is something that I told myself. So I have this tendency to chicken out of things. So I said to myself that maybe I should say yes even before I get a chance to say no. So that once I say yes, I can't go back
leave.
now. Yeah, so that is something that I try to do with myself. Say yes as soon as you can so that you don't have the chance to say no.
I think peer pressuring yourself into doing something good. Like,
Right.
Because you also know that you need that push and your brain also knows it. So like, might as well get it out of the way and then see where it goes. Because and it's so, like, I think that must have been like big evolution for you because now I know, and from like how I see you in office and what I've heard from everybody, you're very reliable, you're very communicative and you're good at talking, you're good at giving talks. And I think you should be proud of that. Like that's a very nice journey to have, right?
Yeah, I think, so I should maybe tell you the first time I went on stage. I think I was in first standard and I was supposed to recite a poem for the school assembly. And I had prepared the poem very well with my mother, with all the actions like how little kids do. And anytime a relative used to come to our place and they were like, my family would be like, Jannat is going to be a part of the assembly. And I would do the entire poem in front of everyone. So I had it very well. And then I went on stage the first time and I went completely blank. I didn't know what to do, completely blank. Nothing was coming in my head. And then I looked back at the teacher and the teacher was like,
What are you doing?
and I was like, on stage.
Like, I'm sorry, my mic is not working.
Yeah, but nothing came to my head. And at the end, I think those are the most embarrassing 5 minutes of my life. Yeah, but then the teacher realized nothing is going to come out of her. So she called me back. At the end, the headmistress shouted the teacher shouted me. That is my first experience on stage. So looking back, comparing all of my current experience to that experience, I do feel like, I've come a long way, at least in terms of public speaking.
And that teacher didn't know. I mean, like, look at where you are now. Like you, as we've talked about, like, I know you're happy. I know you're having fun in what you do. So that's all, like, happiness is enough, right? Yeah.
Life writes its own journey.
Yeah. And since we were on the topic of, like, you being in the first grade, did you know you wanted to be a programmer when you were a kid, or like this is a very...
No,
Yeah.
I didn't know that I wanted to be a programmer. So I have always seen my nani sick. She was always sick, and she used to tell me that when you grow up, you should become a doctor, and then you'll give me an injection, and I'll be totally all right. And so I was like, yeah, sounds cool. I'll be a doctor. And then my nani passed away, and the dream of being a doctor went away with her. And then growing up, I used to think that I would become a teacher. I used to like the fact writing with a chalk on a board, and yeah, I used to enjoy that stuff. Whenever us kids used to gather to play games, and if they would ask me for a suggestion, I would say we would play teacher. Yeah, so I enjoyed being a teacher. But then growing up, I realized that teachers don't get the respect they need. I mean, a lot of teachers, even though they're good teachers, they still get disrespected. And so I thought I won't be able to handle that. And then when I was in 10th grade, there were only two things that people used to talk about, either being a doctor or being an engineer. And I thought I'm an introvert, and I wouldn't want to be, first of all, at that point, being a doctor felt like, no, I don't want to deal with blood. I don't want to be cutting open people, not my cup of tea. The other option was being an engineer, and I thought, yeah, this suits my personality, I thought, because I was an introvert. I thought that I would have to sit by myself in front of a laptop and mind my own work. So I think I didn't have a computer growing up at home, but I don't know, I just figured that this would be the right career for me, and I think it has turned out really well for me. Yeah, because some days I really do think whenever I'm feeling anxious or whenever I'm feeling any sort of negative energy, I feel that my work saves me, because putting all of that energy into code and looking it come out the way it does.
And like choosing careers also has something to do with intuition, right? Like now when we talk about it, we realize, oh, this is why I thought what I wanted to do was right. But back then you were like, oh, this is what I feel like. And you know, if you thought that this was the right thing for you, no matter if you hadn't ever coded before, it's fine, right? Like, because you knew. And it's important, like, because people go their whole lives regretting the careers they choose. And you know, without having the opportunity to change it also.
Yeah, I'm grateful that that was never the case for me. Yeah,
it's a good like step to take for yourself.
right.
Like, what was your first job out of college? You studied computer engineering, right? Was it Frappe or like?
No, Frappe wasn't my first job. It was right after college that I got into a service-based company, and getting started was a little bit tough because I did face some resistance from my family. But yeah, I think my mother was very supportive. She was there with me in that entire journey. And I think, having just one right person next to you in difficult situations
is so important.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of difference, because I think your courage just increases tenfolds that way.
Yeah, I know, I completely agree. Like, sometimes when I think about the toughest parts of life, and if I didn't have that one person, whether it's a parent, whether it's my brother, whatever next to me, it wouldn't be the same. Like, it wouldn't, I probably wouldn't have done something if they weren't by my side. So I completely, and I'm so glad that you had that support system in place. And I'm so glad, and also support system is one thing, but it also takes that kind of person to persevere and do something for themselves, right? Correct. I know you persevered. Like, how did it feel to like finally do it? Like, how finally, get that what you wanted?
At that point, it was certainly very difficult. But now that I've done it, I feel so happy that I did it. I know it in myself that I wouldn't have been happy any other way. And I think I just knew that this is the right thing for me. And I'm here today.
Yeah, that's goal power. Like, going for what you want and getting it.
Right.
Like, all our conversations also, go around, like, roam around that fact that we've done something to be here, and we want to keep doing that thing, like consistently wanting things for ourselves and like getting it done no matter what. Like the way you picked, you were like, I want to do something new, so you did Frappe Learning, right? You said you want to try out giving speeches, you did the conference. So yeah, it's just a lot of goal power and a lot of human power also, you can say.
Yeah.
But yeah, And so, what about like Frappe? That was your second job.
It was my second job. My first job at one point, as I said, it was a service-based company, and it got monotonous at one point. And I thought that this is the right time to switch. I cannot wait any longer. And I was looking for the right company, and Frappe felt like the right company. But interesting story, I got rejected the first time.
No, dude.
Yeah, and again, there have been very few points in my life wherein I have went completely blank. The one was when I went on the stage for the first time. I went completely blank. And my first Frappe interview, I went completely blank again. It was going okay-ish, and then it went to a point wherein I wasn't able to get anything out of my head. Yeah, so the first interview went down the drain. The second interview went very well. The second interview lasted a long time, and it went very well. But then I thought, I got the rejection email after that.
Wait, what? How did you turn it around then? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I was bummed. But then I think a few weeks later, I got a call from the HR saying that they're considering me back, and then they want me in the team.
Oh.
And then when I joined, I found out one of the people who was in my second interview vouched for me. And it felt like,
so that person was your one person for this situation.
Yeah, correct. You always have to have one person by your side and things work out.
Yeah, I mean, actually, like, I don't know if I should say this, but I also got rejected this time again when I applied to Frappe. And sharing that story is, let's see how many percentage of our interviewees. Yeah,
I think we should.
This should
have a group of people who were rejected the first time.
and who came back and now, are trusted members of the company. So after you started Frappe Learning, and after you, got into the cadence of it and all of that, what was the one phase or one turning point that, was very obvious and that you were so relieved to have?
I think there were quite a few. I think, so as I said, it wasn't meant to be a product, Frappe Learning. But then after Frappe School was live and we started getting out courses, we thought that others might also need some similar platform to roll out their courses and share it with their audience. And that's when we thought of putting it out as a product. And I was just an engineer back then. I used to just, I never thought of it as a product back then, even though people were telling me we should put it out as a product. And then people started signing up and people started using it. And that's when I realized, okay, something is happening. People are using
it. You're becoming a businesswoman.
Yeah, right. People are using it. And then when the numbers kept growing, I thought that, I never thought of myself as a businesswoman before. I always thought of myself as an engineer. But then with Frappe Learning, with the kind of ownership that I got from Frappe, and with how the product was rolling out and how the users kept coming, I started looking at it like this is my own business now. And that was one of the standout points. And even now I have this graph on Elasticsearch and I keep looking at it once in a while and looking at the numbers grow up, keep growing.
Proud,
it's an amazing feeling. Those two, the user graph and the GitHub stars, they give you another boost of energy. That's how I think I keep going on. People keep coming and you know that this is something that they want and you keep going ahead.
Like the reason why I asked you this actually, because is that inevitably when you're building something, anything, whether it's a company, it's a product, inevitably there is always that one turning point. Right. Whether it turns for the good or turns for the bad, there is one. And most people don't need to, like, you knew what I was asking the moment I asked you the question, and it's so important to, your turning point was great. Like, Frappe School and Frappe Learning is doing so good right now. And as you're saying, the GitHub stars are just on a famous curve. But so much consistency is required to do this also. Like, how do you make sure that you keep yourself accountable constantly?
Having the right mentors who have pointed me into the right direction, plus having a good work ethic helps, I think. Just putting in the work. If you are doing good work, you are going to get good results. That is something that I've seen in my life. Plus, as I said with mentors, Rushabh has the standard line of "do saal do," and yeah, he keeps repeating that to all the product engineers because he's had a journey of years and he knows that it's not going to be an overnight success and
Yeah.
it is going to take time. And I think the first time he said that to me was also in 2021.
A lot of things happened in 2021.
Yeah, correct. And I thought, I'm ready to give 2 years, I thought. And yeah, when 2 years were over, I thought that the product is still doing good and I can give more 2 years. And so here I am 4 years after starting Frappe Learning and
Yeah.
I'm still ready to give more 2 years to it.
And I love that. Like, why not? And you're not even like scared of doing it anymore, right? In the beginning, if it's not going well, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
this
there's
is iffy.
this
Yeah.
chance of failure too that keeps you holding
Yeah.
back.
But I think it comes hand in hand. If you want to like do good things and do good work, then you're going to have to be a little scared and get over that fear.
Yeah, because I think you would never know what's going to happen and you'd rather do it and see what happens than not do it and keep thinking about it.
So we've covered a lot of things. I think at this point we've covered how you became a programmer, how your journey at Frappe has been. But like, let's look at it from like a bird's eye view. Like, if you zoom out, what is the one thing you've actually realized about yourself?
If I say it this way, that 15-year-old Jannat would be really proud that I made it this far.
I love that.
Yeah, because I think from whatever we discussed today, and this has made me realize after having a conversation with you that if at any of those points I would have listened to the fear in my head or listened to the people who were trying to hold me back, then I would have never discovered this part of myself. There might never have been a Jannat engineer. There might never have been a product engineer Jannat.
Or a
There might
speaker.
never have been
Yeah.
a speaker Jannat. I would have never, if the first time that I was on stage, I would have given to my thoughts and I would have never stepped on a stage again, then I would have never known that I could do it.
Do it, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would have been a bummer, not knowing this part of
100%.
myself.
Yeah, the world would have missed you.
Yeah.
But yeah. And this all comes from like how you've grown up, right? What you've read, what you've heard, who has inspired you. There's so much to it. Like, and I don't know if you're going to be able to can you point to one person, one thing that is just right there for you as an inspiration?
Growing up, I think it was definitely my mother as one person, but the other person that I would name is Taylor Swift. I'm a
Let's
huge
go.
Swiftie. And yeah, so I did not become a Swiftie when I was listening to her songs, and I did not become a Swiftie. I liked her lyrics, but that was not what made me a Swiftie. What made me her fan was looking at the difficult points in her journey, wherein if anyone would have been in her place, it would have been really difficult to get back from that point. Yeah, but she somehow managed to do it, and she somehow managed to do it really beautifully.
I agree.
And yeah, she's back now. She's taken all her revenge. She takes her revenge through her work, and I like that very much.
Do you also do that? Like,
But I wish to do it. I mean, it would really be cool. I really like it when artists let their work speak.
speak for them, yeah.
Yeah, the other example that comes to my mind about this is when Shah Rukh Khan did the movie Jawan, and there was an EVM scene in that movie.
Okay.
Wherein, have you watched the movie?
I think so. I watched it.
Yeah. So at that point, it's just the EVMs and Shah Rukh Khan in between. I watched it in theater, and you know that this point, even though they're showing it as a part of the screen, Shah Rukh Khan was speaking to you. It wasn't the character that was speaking to you. It was literally, it felt like Shah Rukh Khan was speaking to you and giving the audience a message. Yeah, that felt literal chills.
It is, no? I think like this happens a lot with like celebrities also. Like, do you know Louis Capaldi, the singer?
Yeah, I've heard.
Yeah, so he has Tourette syndrome. Okay, so Tourette makes you like involuntarily do actions and make noises. And he's a singer, like, you know. For even Billie Eilish, for that matter, she also has Tourette's, right?
Yeah, right.
So, and both of them come on stage with such grace and confidence. Like, I feel like, you know, that is what it takes, like, to know that you have a community like that around you and to know that you're enough, no matter what, you're enough. Like,
Yeah,
if that's what
exactly.
I've always wanted to, you know, show with my work, that I think that this is good. And for me, it is enough. So, like, when it comes to art, I always think this way, that when it, like, the artist's truest sense is when they're so satisfied with their work So everybody does relate to it inevitably. Yes.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, and I think things are only big when they're in our head. I think in reality they are not as big, but our head tries to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
And we just need to I think telling yourself that you are the hero of your story makes a whole lot of difference, because otherwise you will continue being in your comfort zone, and I think, yeah, you will never grow.
Yeah, our brain makes like the scary thing scarier and the winning thing smaller for some reason. Like this like imposter syndrome also comes into this also. This only, right? Like, you know, you don't believe it when you are doing something well. You still want to do better, which is not unfair. Like you should want to, you know, grow, etc., etc. But you should also be happy that you're doing something
Exactly,
good.
exactly. Yeah, I feel we live in cities and we're busy chasing one goal after another. But
Yeah.
sometimes just taking a time out to appreciate whatever you've achieved so far makes a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, and I don't know why we're so scared to do that. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it takes a lot to, you know, like we were speaking about consistency also before. It takes so much to get to that point where you're constantly pushing yourself to do things in the same way or a better way. And it takes a lot to do that. Like, why are we so scared to like give ourselves a pat on the back and be like, oh, you know, this was good. You did this. This was scary and you still did it. Like,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
great.
You need to do that, because yeah, that reinforcement helps you overcome the next challenges that you will have in your life. Yeah, it's important, I think.
Yeah. When you shut off your laptop, you stop coding, you know, you're out of that space. What version of you comes out? Like, what do you like to do?
I'm not a very social person. I don't have a huge list of friends. But yeah, I like to do things on my own. I enjoy cooking and I enjoy reading a good book. I watch episodes, TV series. Yeah, that's all I do mostly.
Like, I don't enjoy cooking, but I like to, you know people's process of cooking. So, what is your favorite dish that you've cooked?
In my family, not trying to brag, but I'm known for my biryani.
Damn.
It's a very hectic process and it makes you tired, but a good biryani that comes out of it is all worth it.
Yeah. Have I missed a biryani party at Frappe?
Yeah, I did get
Oh, no.
biryani at Frappe once. It was for a Diwali potluck.
So next this Diwali we're gonna have biryani.
Sure, if we do a potluck, I'll get
This
it.
is the
for you.
commitment that you made on camera now. Cool. Yeah. And about reading, since I also love reading books, I want to know like what is your favorite book? It doesn't have to be recent. Any all-time favorite book?
There have been many. I like To Kill a Mockingbird. And yeah, I think that book was really insightful. It was from a 5-year-old's perspective on racism. So yeah, that perspective makes you feel like, yeah, from a 5-year-old, racism doesn't make sense at all. I
Yeah.
mean, what is it? Us adults make these concepts very complex, and yeah, try to justify why things happen the way they happen. Yeah, but from the perspective of a kid, they don't make any sense at all.
Yeah. Like all these stereotypes, all these notions come from nowhere.
Correct.
Like I don't know if you've read it. There's a book called The Color Purple. Have you read it?
No, I haven't.
I think won the Booker Prize a few years ago, or was in the shortlist. And it's also about racism in America, which is the birthplace. Should not say this, but yeah, and it's so hard hitting about like how concepts are so vague and they're so made up by the people, by the oppressors, that like to any person, any third person, they don't make any sense.
Correct.
Like they just don't make sense.
Any
It's
sense,
the same
correct.
thing, right? Yeah. Like even when we were talking about how it was difficult for you, like to get into your first job, it's not fair, obviously, but it's also made up, right? Nobody there is no evolutionary natural thing that is stopping you from doing anything. But this
Exactly.
is so made up. Like this is just like you can't because people don't. And yeah,
Yeah.
that like if I ever want to exist in any space community, like I would like it to be in a place where these rules are just generally taken with a whole bucket of salt, yeah, not just a
Right.
pinch of it. So yeah.
True. I think life is complex, but not as complex as people make it out to be most times.
People forget that you're here to do work at this point in capitalism. Yes, do work, but also like be happy. Be happy doing the things that you do, which is one thing I really like about like our colleagues is that they always ask, "Are you having fun doing this?"
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
Like,
Because
yeah,
You've seen this latest trend on social media wherein you'll see a person baking with the caption saying, I forgot that this was the whole point, or doing something
yeah.
that they're enjoying with totally forgot that this was the point.
Yeah. And like, why
Ultimately-
not make it your point? Sorry
Yeah,
to interrupt.
no,
Yeah, why not
ultimately
make it
we're
your
here to
point?
have
Yeah.
fun.
We are here to have fun, and like I really appreciate when people care if you're having fun or not, because work is a part of your life. It's not your whole life.
Correct.
And Frappe is also like has always like is my first job. My first job when I started, and I've not worked at any other corporate place before. So I've always appreciated the culture and always felt like this is a safe space to belong. This is a safe space to express
True.
and be creative. Have that freedom to do good work.
Exactly.
And you want to do good work. You know, like you want to contribute.
Yeah, I think the environment that we have, good work naturally comes out of it because everyone is pushing you into that direction and everyone is rooting for your success. So I feel very okay with doing whatever I'm doing because I know that whatever is going to come out, it's going to be all right at the end.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, and speaking of coming to the end, I think we've gone through a lot of things. And I'm glad we got to share stories that we've exchanged personally also.
No, I think it was fun having to be here. Now, I think I have another item checked off my bucket list.
Yes,
now I am
be
on a podcast. And
Yes.
it was really fun having this conversation with you. And the entire process, another experience added to my journey.
Yeah, and the fun part is like next time when you meet people at Flappavers who've seen this podcast, they'll have so many things to talk about with you. Like these like conversations start more conversations, right? Like
Correct.
why not?
It feels vulnerable, but I'm hoping that it turns out for the best.
It will. Like I believe it. Like even when you have the smallest conversation with like one of our partners or just any community member, they remember it and you remember it, and it's that link. I saw this very random. I saw this TEDx talk about how like 7 ways you can build better connections, and one of them is the more you talk to the same person, the more that link gets stronger. Like it's
Okay.
like a small metal link and keeps getting stronger every time you talk to that person.
Okay.
So by one point, you know, you know, like that person is somebody in a community you can trust, and yeah, it's a good concept. There's a very nice TEDx talk about it. You like the conference is coming up, and you're bound to meet so many people who are gonna ask you what's next. So you tell me what's next.
This is a thing that we do at Frappe, wherein a few months, 3-4 months before the conference, we start preparing for the conference. And there's a thing that engineers do. It's called CEDD. It's conference-driven development. So we make a list of things that we would want to show in our talk, and we start preparing to it. And so I've got my list ready for learning, and I'm working on that. And not to add much, but I've also taken on a challenge on the side that I can't reveal much about. Yeah, but that's the plan for now.
This is the soft launch, guys. But yeah, we'll find out soon enough, I'm guessing. Like I also don't know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
In
when
office.
it's time.
Okay. And overall, like, what is the one thing that you think people will take away from this conversation?
I'm not sure what they're going to take away, but I really hope that they do things that are coming to their head without thinking much about it. Because from my personal experience, the more you think about things, the more you're going to end up maybe not doing it. Most times I think fearless doesn't mean the lack of fear. It means that in spite of your fears and in spite of all the self-doubts,
You're doing
you
it.
still go ahead and do it.
That's very inspiring, and I think this is what people take away, because like I know asking you a question about yourself is a tougher answer, but like the vibe I have gotten this entire time is the fact that it might seem like a regular thing, but people are not as capable to keep themselves very accountable, very consistent, and take a lot of steps to grow, right? Like, because fear is a very consuming emotion, and no matter what, like people say, I'm not scared, whatever. Everyone is scared of small things, big things, and it takes a lot, right? Like, whenever I talk to you also right now, especially, like I feel like it's not that scary taking that step. I should just do it. Like, if people around me are doing it and it's going to turn out well.
True.
Yeah. Even if it doesn't, you're going to learn from it.
You don't know what life holds for you unless and until you do it.
That's a nice line to end it.
The end.
Thank you so much for being on this podcast. I had such a good time talking to you, and I hope you also did.
Yeah, I enjoyed today very well.
I'm glad.
My Saturday was worth it.
Yeah. Thank you for watching this. This is one of our earlier episodes, and I hope to grow this so much more and bring you the stories of the people that actually make Fabpace community. And I have had the privilege of meeting around 1/4 of them, and I'm gonna meet 100% of them by the end of this. So if you like it, please subscribe to Fabpace channel. We don't just do product demos or webinars. We do this now too. And I'm excited to see you guys in a few days for the next episode.